Hey, beautiful people. My name's Kristen. Thank you for stopping by my channel, Enter the Book. I have my monthly book reviews. These are the books that I have read in the past month. And I always strive for classic nonfiction, new release, and then sometimes a new author if one sends me one. And I have all those and a couple others. So as always, I will hold up the book as I talk about it. You can scroll along to the ones you're interested in, but I challenge you to find something new. The author, my new author that I am reviewing her book, sent to me free of charge for a review, is actually Christine Rose Elle. I have been following her on YouTube for years and just love her sense of style, fashion, her heart for inspiring people, being a life coach, just everything about her is so cute. Please check out her channel below. I will link it, but she has written a book called the 52-week inspirational journal, Find Your Spark, and it is supposed to be suggested once a week for a year, and it just came out in August. So obviously I did not follow the directions of doing it just once a week, but I wanted to give an honest review, and I actually found myself really enjoying just doing it daily. So I have done about 20 of them, and I think so many of them were like really thoughtful questions. They'll have like a topic. Let me find one that I haven't done yet. So there'll be like a topic like self-confidence with a famous quote, and then there'll be like questions. So this says, what area of your life do you feel the most confident in, and what risks did you take to get there or develop that? People tend to shy away from claiming their worth. I add value to the lives of others by, and there's like, like these open-ended questions and prompts. And it's been really helpful. I'm kind of going through some transitions in life and looking for new inspirations coming out of everything that we've been through lately. So this is really a very creative thing. It would be fun to do if you had like a best friend, to do like a buddy thing and discuss it even. I think that would be really, really helpful. Or if you have a life coach, to kind of use this to pull out some of the things. So because the topics are, curiosity, strengths, reframing failures, difficult decisions. That was a really good one. Cultivating kindness. So you can get this on Amazon. I will also link the book below so you can check it out if you would like to get that. It would also be a good gift if you know somebody who does like to write or journal. My classic for this month was another Thomas Hardy. So I did just get several of the cloth-bound penguin books of Thomas Hardy, but I had just read this. So I read his famous novel Tess of d'Urberville and really struggled, had to force myself to finish reading it and still really dislike it. But I like his writing. So I read Far from the Madding Crowd and I really liked it. It was really, really good. So gave him another shot. The Woodlanders. This is a classic about it's very, if you like some of the kind of stories that involve a lot of the romance backstories, but also kind of socioeconomic and kind of what's expected. There is a lot of play around this. In fact, I think Thomas Hardy, in like the prologue where it's talking about the backstory, had mentioned that this became one of his favorite books because he had put a lot of his own personal kind of reflections or ponderings, kind of like that, what does it mean to marry outside your class or your expectations or those kind of things. So I find that really fascinating. And if you have read like a biography or anything about Thomas Hardy, it made me kind of interested in his life and backstory and learning even more about him as a writer and a person. So I will be actually looking for that in the future. But so it's that kind of story where you've got a girl who's pining for a boy, who's pining for a different girl, who's pining for a different boy, and they're all kind of trying to either marry up or follow their heart, and it just gets, circular and around in motion, and it's one of those kind of things that feels a little Shakespearean, but Thomas Hardy's writing is just very easy to read, easy to follow, a little bit of humor, that kind of dry wit sense of humor that I like. So I really like him. I'm definitely excited to own the new books that I just hauled in my last haul, and I'm going to read quite a bit more of him. So hopefully the one is the only one I won't enjoy. The next book is my nonfiction book. So I had done this in a nonfiction review for the year. So this is one of my nonfiction goals of the year. So I have read it, No Place to Hide, by Glenn Greenwald. And this is the story of Ed Snowden and I don't know if you want to say conspiracy, because I think it really, it really happened. There was one of those things where the government agencies and corporations were using our personal information and accessing things that they should not have been accessing, and he was a whistleblower, and it's the true story. And so then I watched it on the movie on Netflix, and it's so accurate to this book. So a lot of the things, I mean, obviously I'm one of those people that thinks reading the book is better. You get a little more depth and a little more details and all that kind of stuff than the movie, but the movie was really well done too. So if you've seen the movie first, I don't know if you would find this as interesting as reading the book first. So that's what I have to say about that. If you haven't seen Snowden on Netflix, read the book first. It's really good. Very interesting, and it kind of makes you a little creeped out and putting tape over your webcam things just like he did. My new release that I had picked up from my book of the month was Damnation Spring by Ash Davidson. I did an individual review for that, so I will go ahead and link that in the little iCard up top if you want more extensive review. It is spoiler free and then goes into spoilers with adequate warning. All my monthly book reviews are all spoiler free. So this book, I loved the writing style, the characters. I got very attached to several of the characters. I thought it was really a good portraying of a small town who is in a logging community, and they're kind of rural. They're trying to make ends meet. They're trying to deal with the fact that there has been a lot of medical issues, particularly struggling with lost pregnancies, and trying to figure out if there is a correlation between the environmental issues of pesticides and things that are using to harvest the trees, which is bringing them livelihood, and then competing with, oh, maybe that's not the healthiest for us, and trying to wrestle through some of those things. There's some romantic drama and a little environmental drama, but really it was the stories of the characters, and I just really a couple times found myself going, wow, that is a really awesome relationship that's being explained there. There was a perspective of a child who's only 5. That was a struggle, but fortunately those chapters that were written were only 2 or 3 pages. So I think those probably should have been in that information could have just been in one of the adult perspectives, but I appreciated the author's attempt, because I think that is a very challenging thing to do. So Damnation Spring, really liked it, except for the ending. The ending is just ruined it for me. While I was reading it, I was thinking this might be a 5-star, and I even had a ending in my head that I thought would be perfect, which I'd talk about in that spoiler. But it didn't. It was disappointing. I still think it's worth reading if you like slow historical fiction types of books. So that's that. Then my son had given me this book for Christmas, and I had still never read it, and so I just said, that's crazy, I'm reading this book, The Dutch House by Anne Patchett. And I had heard so many good things about her and her writing, and I had never read any of it. So I read this story. It's a really interesting story that centers around a house, and a family, particularly with the girls who the one has their portrait. This is her portrait that was painted, and there's old portraits in the house of previous owners, and so they kind of make up stories and history and ties to the house. And the mother has passed. We know that pretty early on. And so there is a stepmother that comes in, and then You know, things just go into that weird family dynamics, you know, because she brings girls into her family, and so there's angst, and it kind of centers around not only the house but the family dynamics, right? The kind of coming of age, this kind of broken family relationships, and trying to let things go and to move into a healthy place, and accepting reality and family and health. So beautiful writing, really liked it. I plan to read more of her in the future. And then the last book I read out of the 6 books was Brandon Sanderson's Words of Radiance. This is the second in the Stormlight, and I thought it was a trilogy. It's not a trilogy, y'all. There's going to be 10. I didn't know that. It's like, don't come at me. I don't know how I didn't know it. But, I mean, he did write a couple other series that were 3s, right? You know, the first, even Mistborn, even though it has the follow-up, they're written in 3s. So I just thought it was in 3s. Nope. So this is number 2. And so this, they are big books. This one's 1,300 pages. This follows several characters in a very elaborate world where there are humans, and there are another race, the Parshendi, and there are magical creatures that are like fairy types that are Spren, and somehow they can support or combine to bring about magic with the Stormlight, which can be held in gems and can be kind of like little pouches of energy. When the storm comes through, it replenishes the gems and the rocks, but when, you know, it's sucked out, then you have to wait for the next storm to replenish it. So there's magic going in that, because each person can have different abilities, and so we find out that there's this whole mysterious past, and they're trying to figure out like who were the Knights Radiant and what were their powers and abilities. And it was kind of, you know, the different, not only the different species going against each other, but the different human factions going against each other and trying to get power and prestige and position and money. And so you have this interesting world that has these storms coming through. It has shattered plains. It has these chasms with trolls and chasm fiends and mystical creatures. And so it takes a lot. So the first book was also almost 1,300 pages. And sometimes I would get a little lost. But Brandon Sanderson, in the backs of all of his books, does like charts and maps. And at the beginning of every chapter, he will put a quote that helps you have an insight or a clue into some meaning of what's going on. And then he always puts the symbol of which character that storyline is going to involve or whatever. So this one, I think, is Dalinar. That's like a king. So there's rulers and royalty, and there's scholars, and Kaladin's one of the main characters who has been wrongly enslaved and is just, you know, developing and tying a lot of this in together. So a lot happened, and I was really surprised because it had been a few months since I had read the first one, that right from the first page I jumped right back in. And because you do all the work of the first one, by the second book I can attest you will know what's going on, and it will all start to click, and it gets really exciting. It's like, oh, and you've got kind of mystery, you've got kind of magic system, you got kind of world, you've got how are these characters going to encounter one another, what timeline is some of this happening, because you have interludes with flashbacks and clues. It is well done. You would think that you would get so lost in something so epic, but it's all things considered very impressive. And I'm probably going to read the third one next month. Usually I take a break of a month or two, but I can't do it, y'all. I think I'm going to have to pick up the next one next month. So I might not be reading a whole lot of books next month, but it's really good. So Thank you for stopping by, hearing my reviews. Let me know what you're reading. If you've read any of these, no spoilers, but leave me a comment below. If you want to read one of these now that I've talked about it, I love that. I love inspiring one another to do that. So let me know what's going on with you, what you think is good. If there's something that you think I would really enjoy based on something I read, put that below too. Y'all have a super amazing reading month. Take care now.